Okay, guys. So this is a 10 minutes or so video on very basic um, procedures with Python tool called Spyder. This is what's called an IDE, an integrated development environment. This is where you put your code in and edit your code, and this is called a console, where your outcomes are your answers. So if you did some kind of arithmetic on this side, your outcome would actually be, your answer would actually be inputted or outputted on this side here. So Python is a object-oriented language, and it's very useful for a whole variety of different subject areas. My subject area is cognitive science. And if we're modeling the brain, we wanted to construct useful like neural networks and so forth. So this short course is basically the very bare basics to understand very simple Python code up to the point where we will construct a very simple neural network. We'll just take it in steps and see how far we can get. So for this very first session, all I'm going to show you is how to identify the software, how to load the software, and then some very simple functions that I'll use to print some kind of outcomes on this console. So why Python? Why Spyder? So I just mentioned there are a variety of IDEs. I particularly like Spyder. There's other ones like PyCharm. I particularly like the Spyder interface simply because it pre-installs some of the mathematic modules, like NumPy, for instance. You don't have to call those in. It's already in IPython. So this is the console, which has a whole bunch of things already pre-installed. Now, to access these things, you can either go to the python.org website and just go to downloads and download the latest Python, select Windows of course, and the latest stable release, or go to the spyderidE.org and download something called Anaconda and just go through the instructions. And once it's installed, you'll see this little spider symbol. So there'll be various IDEs you can choose. One's called Jupyter, I think, Jupyter Notebook. You want to go for the Spyder interface and then just double click that. Give it some time. So when you double click on this software, it's very, very intensive. It's got a lot of, it requires a lot of memory and processing power. These are big packages. So just give it some time. Double clicking it, it'll take a few seconds for the thing to appear. So once you've done that, you'll get this IDE. So this is Spyder now installed. The latest version, by the way, is Python 3.7. So the older 2. Whatever, they do not now update those older formats. So we're learning this in terms of Python 3.7. It's all very, very similar. Some of the notation is a little bit different. And by the way, I'm no expert in Python. I've not had any formal taught lessons. I've just picked things up as I go along, so you won't see any kind of formal notation, but I can explain how to develop a neural network and the basics that you need from my own experience. So once this is set up like this, the very first thing you want to do to ensure that you've done it correctly and the software is installed correctly is put in a function called print. So it's called print. Any functions will appear in a different color, in this case purple, and then you want to do a bracket like that, parentheses, and then you want to put something in there. Now if you wanted to print a word, you have to put it in terms of a quotation mark like that, and just say something like hello world. That's the classic way of doing it. And get outside there. If you press return or enter, it'll just tab down. So you're not going to get anything in your Python console just by pressing return. What you have to do is you've written in the command, and now you have to run it. So you run it. By the way, the first thing it will ask you to do is call the script something, so you have to save it first. So we'll just call this test2. Save it, and then you can see hello world. So that's the outcome there. Hello world. You asked it to call print hello world, and it printed hello world. Remember, it prints in the console, not the editor here. So you can edit wherever you want. You can edit in Notepad, but I suggest you use something like Spyder, because it's really good at highlighting the difference between the string. This is a string here. What you want to print, and the function. So the function is a command, an inbuilt command, and that tells the console you want the word hello world printed in the console, and it's done it there. Now if you wanted to do some basic arithmetic, you might think, okay, well, I want to know, like I was using a calculator or something, 1 plus 1. Now I press return. Oh, nothing's happened. Oh, I remember. Let's go to run, and let's click that. Oh, nothing's happened in the console. Well, that's not the correct way of doing it. So this editor the console doesn't understand the input you're giving it. 1 plus 1 means nothing. So you have to use functions if you want an outcome. So if you wanted to find out what 1 plus 1 equaled to, you have to do it in a similar way to the hello world command. So you would write print 1 plus 1, and then you go to run and click run there, and your answer there is given 2. It's good to note that because I've got the print hello world still there, it gives me hello world and the answer to print 1 plus 1. So it's ignoring this 1 plus 1 here. It doesn't care about it. If you wanted the it not to print hello world, you simply have to just remove that there. Just either remove it, delete it, or you can put, I believe you can put a hash key around it, and there we are. It removes that hash key. So if I was to press run now, you just get the 2, because this is now wiped out. Similarly, this is garbage. Take that out, run it, 2. So you're going to have to go to the run command there and press run, or click this big green button here if you want. So now it's printed 2. That's as far as I'm going to get with this very, very first session. Now I'm going to go through a whole bunch of things like how to assign variables, lists, dictionaries, tuples. I'm going to basically explain a whole bunch of things. But whereas other courses give you a full, in-depth overview of a multitude of different things, I'm only going to give you the bare basics, which takes you from 0 to hero, or from nothing to not an expert for sure, but beginner to an intermediary level programmer, so which will give you the basic skills that you need to input your very first neural network. Once you've done that, then I can introduce you to a whole bunch of resources. But I found it very difficult. The learning curve was very difficult in terms of how do I get to learn how to write a neural network. Well, I needed to know how to do a whole bunch of basic programming, Python programming skills before I got there. So I did it in a very awkward way of learning neural network theory, mathematics, and trying to understand the code, realize the code is too difficult because you need to understand the basics like these functions. Otherwise, you're going to get into problems when you try to write commands if you don't know the basic functions. So you have to be able to walk before you're able to run. And that's as far as I want to get with this. So thank you very much. I'll create a whole bunch of playlist with maybe 10 different sessions. By the end we'll get there, we'll be creating back propagation networks and so forth. I'll throw in a little bit of the mathematics behind it, but again, this is a very light series. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was nice and easy. By the way, you're not stuck with any particular IDE. My suggestion is everyone you speak to has their own preference. I like this because it's similar to the way that MATLAB does it with the editor here, and it gives a command console all in the same page, as opposed to if you did it with Python. Usually it would just be an editor that you're using, and then when you click run, so from the console, Python console, you'd run a script in, let's say, Notepad, and then when you run that script you have to find it on your desktop, and it's basically on two different pages. I like this because it's all integrated into one system. Okay guys, that's it really now. I hope you enjoyed that. Please click like, sorry about my cough, and I'll catch you again with the next one. Cheers now.